Nothing is harsher on the soul than being struck through its own trust, and nothing is more honorable for it than rising and gently patting its own shoulder with its own hand. First, before we begin the episode, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever experienced a betrayal that changed the way you see yourself or even love itself? Did it affect your trust in your own heart, or in the way you choose the people around you? And how did you try to regain your self-love after that experience? Share your stories and opinions honestly. Some of your stories may be read and reflected upon in the next episode, because every experience has a voice that deserves to be heard. And now, let us begin. When we speak about self-love after betrayal, we are not engaging in an intellectual luxury or emotional indulgence. We are touching one of the most sensitive areas of the human experience, where dignity blends with pain, trust with brokenness, and the image we formed of ourselves collides with the image suddenly reflected back at us through the eyes of others. Betrayal is not just a passing incident in the record of relationships. It is an inner fracture that shakes our definition of who we are, rearranges our priorities, and confronts us with a heavy question. How do I love myself after I was not loved as I should have been? How do I trust my heart again after it misjudged? How do I rise without carrying a bitterness that spoils the taste of life? Betrayal, my friends, is not only when someone leaves, breaks a promise, or suddenly changes without warning. It is that deep feeling that you offered something sincere from your soul, only to find yourself alone halfway through the road. As if you were walking beside someone, leaning on them, and suddenly they withdrew their arm without warning, causing you to lose your balance and fall, not because you were weak, but because you felt safe. And it is precisely that sense of safety that makes betrayal so painful. It does not attack you from the outside. It slips in from the very place you thought was secure. At first, anger is often directed outward, toward the person who disappointed you, the circumstances that allowed it, the days that carried this scene to you. But more dangerous than outward anger is the inner whisper that begins to question. Why did I trust? Why did I believe? Why did I give more than I should have? Here lies the real test. A person may eventually forgive the other, but if they are not careful, they may turn into their own enemy, blaming themselves, doubting their worth, carrying all the responsibility, as if purity of heart were a crime, good intention a flaw, and the desire to love a weakness that requires apology. Self-love after betrayal does not mean standing before a mirror repeating memorized affirmations about confidence and beauty. It does not mean ignoring the pain or pretending nothing happened. It is a slow process of maturity that begins by admitting that we were truly hurt, that what we felt was not an illusion, and that our disappointment is not proof of deficiency, but of humanity. A heart that aches was once alive. A spirit that broke was capable of giving. A person who was betrayed was sincere enough to believe in something. Some think the safest path after betrayal is to close all doors, raise high walls, and declare sharp independence, as if turning the heart into a restricted military zone were revenge against pain. But that is not self-love. It is fear disguised as strength. True self-love is not constant withdrawal or endless suspicion. It is a calm awareness that says, yes, I misjudged in this experience, but I will not reduce myself to a mistake, nor allow one incident to redefine my worth. After betrayal, we often revisit our memories, searching for missed signs and misunderstood words, as if the past could lighten the weight of the present. Yet when reflection turns into constant self-blame, it drains us instead of teaching us. Maturity says, I learned a lesson and will be more aware. Cruelty says, you are the cause of everything and deserve no better. Between these two voices, recovery is determined. Loving yourself after betrayal means sitting honestly with yourself, without denying your feelings, without being ashamed of your tears, without rushing healing. It means allowing sorrow to pass through you like a storm, knowing it may shake you and uproot some old certainties, but not your roots if you hold on to them. True roots are unseen, yet they give the tree its strength. Your inner worth may not have been seen by the one who betrayed you, but it remains steady. Perhaps betrayal awakens a hidden sense of unworthiness, whispering that if you had been better, smarter, more attentive, things would have stayed. But life is more complex than that. People's presence or departure is shaped by many factors. Some about them, some about circumstances beyond your control. It is neither fair to carry all the blame nor wise to tie your value to one person's decision. Self-love after betrayal is understanding that your dignity is not negotiable, that your heart is not a testing ground, and that your presence in someone's life is a gift, not a favor. It is knowing that forgiveness does not require returning to what hurt you, that kindness does not mean tolerating repeated harm, and that turning the page does not mean abandoning your right to respect. Your self-respect is the ground upon which all your relationships stand. Healing is not linear. You may miss the one who hurt you. You may long for old details. You may wonder what if everything returned as it was. These feelings are natural, but self-love appears in your ability to distinguish between longing and choice, between emotion and decision. Not everything that knocks on your heart deserves the door to open again. Sometimes betrayal becomes an opportunity to rediscover yourself. In relationships, we often dissolve a little into the other, postpone dreams, rearrange priorities. When they leave, we face an empty space that at first seems frightening, yet it can be filled with neglected passions, forgotten friendships, postponed goals. As if life whispers, return to yourself. There is much that deserves your care. The most beautiful form of self-love after betrayal is when the experience transforms from an open wound into a quiet lesson. You acknowledge that it hurt you, but it taught you. It broke you, but reshaped you with greater awareness. It extinguished something in you, yet ignited other things you had not seen before. Life is not a chain of constant victories, but a succession of experiences. Some give joy, others give wisdom. In the end, self-love after betrayal is not a slogan, nor a perfect state we reach once and remain in forever. It is a daily practice, a renewed choice each morning to treat yourself with respect, to refuse what diminishes you, to give your heart another chance at life without forgetting yesterday's lessons. If you have been betrayed, remember, betrayal does not define you. A person's worth is not measured by who stays in their life, but by their own steadiness in principles, their ability to rise after stumbling, and their courage to remain kind without being naive, strong without being harsh, and loving without losing themselves in attachment. And perhaps the most beautiful place you can reach after every disappointment is to say to yourself, with honesty and calm, I have learned. I have grown. I still deserve a love worthy of me. And most importantly, I have learned how to love myself better.